Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 13th meeting of the Parks and Community Services Commission. I call the meeting to order right at 6 p.m. Tonight we'll begin, of course, with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Dorn Parker has offered to lead us. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Commissioner Dorn Parker. Ms. Perdita, the roll call, please.
Let the record reflect all commissioners are present.
Great, thank you. We'll begin with public comments on matters that are not listed on the agenda. Is there anyone in the council who would like to speak? Good evening, Mr. Taboda.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Ralph Taboda, a longtime resident. Last week I sent you all a letter congratulating you on creating the values document and urge you to not pause your efforts in getting involved and being an equal collaborative partner with staff in developing, prioritizing, and recommending park capital projects. Chair Brown asked you to develop at the last meeting your list of park projects. But where do you start? How do you begin? And that's, I took the liberty of sending that recreation of the current five-year forecast for parks to you to hopefully assist you in that effort. Kind of give you a starting point, a reference point. But that five-year forecast, it's in writing, it's done annually in the budget, but it changes every year. And I want to make that point. It's not cast in concrete. Those forecasts change every year. And that's to be expected. Things change, priorities change, stuff happens. Case in point, last year's five-year forecast included about $200,000 to create or expand neighborhood community gardens. In this year's five-year forecast, the one I sent you, a recreation, there's $0 for neighborhood community parks, gardens. So where'd that, who changed that forecast? Was that the Parks Department? Was that Public Works? Was that City Manager? Don't know, but it changed. Another example, a couple years ago, there was a forecast in the following year to provide or new playground equipment for Marina View Park and for Harbor Park. But when that year arrived, that was not budgeted. Those two projects for the playground equipment was not budgeted. It was reprioritized with another project. Maybe for good reason, I don't know. But the process has not been transparent. There's no reasoning, there's no reason provided to the Tax Commission why those changes are made. Another example, what I call the poster child, is about 4 years ago, there was a line item for West Side Park development being forecasted. Every year, the city was going to put money aside to basically acquire land to acquire land and then build a new park. So for 4 years in a row or so, there was money forecasted for that. That money was not set aside. It kept on getting pushed forward and forward and forward. In the current year forecast, it's actually now pushed out to beyond, what they call beyond, so beyond 5 years. So there's no money even forecasted for 5 years. So again, these forecasts change every time, and that's why I think it's imperative that the Tax Commission get involved.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers who would like to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda? Ms. Perdita, is there anyone online?
No, there is not.
Okay. With that, I close public comments. Moving to commissioner comments and suggestions. Commissioner Hewson, would you like to begin?
Hi, everyone. Great to see you again. I don't have any comments, so I will just pass it on.
Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Yeah, just short, brief comments. I wanted to thank the city staff for helping us out with a youth program that we started about 6 months ago. Um, we were doing some activities to create financial literacy, and there was some awards that were given out, and the community moms came out. It was really nice. It was six weeks ongoing, and we were able to collaborate with the city, and we were able to get some chairs and you know yeah, some tables as well and some snacks. So that was really nice. They really appreciated it, and that's just the start of something more to come. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Thank you. I have two quick things. The first of all is we know Brentwood Park's groundbreaking is up and coming, which is very exciting. And just make sure that the staff keep in touch with some of the leaders of Brentwood Park because they'd like to add to the celebration of that momentous occasion so they could have a little bit of time. They requested that, and that makes sense. I would also like to know. The other thing is some very disturbing reports had come to me that started in Brentwood Park, but it spread. There was an unmarked vehicle with someone with a mask and a hat and camo gear that was taking pictures and videotaping in the middle of the day that appeared to be aimed at the nannies and everybody in the park. Then what I heard was it also happened at Harper. Then they went over into Newport Beach. They've been seen to be going, and it's different unmarked vehicles, but everybody inside is either one or two. So I asked staff, and if you see this unmarked, we don't know who this is. They're videotaping children, which is illegal. They're taking pictures of our parks, our residents without permission. And when somebody was approaching them, they zoomed away. So we don't really know what's happening, but please call 311 because if it's a group or someone that keeps coming back, then our law enforcement can be ready and our people in our community can be ready. It's deeply disturbing. And if people thought that none of this terror was happening in our community, we are wrong. I hate to say it, but dead wrong. So unfortunately, I haven't heard from other parts of the city, but I can't imagine it's not also happening elsewhere. It's very much geared towards a lot of those parks that have a lot of nannies and grandmas and grandpas taking care of their little grandchildren. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kamala.
Just want to start off with thank you to the community. Our special session for the Fairview Park Master Plan had just an amazing turnout through Zoom here in chambers and all the letters sent in. I appreciate the passion and all the thought that everyone put into the Fairview Park Master Plan. A special thank you to Council Member Arliss Reynolds for continuously supporting Fairview Park Steering Committee. All the work the steering committee put in, all the work city staff put in. It was great, and I definitely appreciate everyone's support on that and excited to see it go to council. Also, November 15th, there's a community bike skills workshop here at City Hall. And as a reminder, again, at Fairview Park Alliance hosts a cleanup the second Saturday of each month. And the Coastal Corridor Alliance hosts theirs on the third Saturday. So both are from 9 to 11. So ahead of the master plan, you can get out there and help start the restoration process early.
I believe that really great workshop you were talking about has been canceled because of rain. Everything stops in Southern California with rain. As a northerner, I'm like, what? Commissioner Ledger.
I didn't really have much. I do want to say today is National Kindness Day, and our school district is making it a kindness week. And I just want to invite everyone to not just look up the definition of kindness and nice, because they are two different things, but to also look into the psychology of the two, because we really need to start teaching our next generation to be kind, not just nice. That's all.
Thank you. Vice Chair Wright.
Hello. I'm going to echo a similar sentiment. I I really appreciated our meeting on Fairview Park. The public really showed out, and it was incredibly energizing for me. It was definitely the longest amount of public comment we've ever had. I think it was like 2 hours. And I genuinely like read everything and you know, ingested what everyone said. And I guess I just want to compliment all of you guys up here. I feel like we really rose to the occasion and are just time and time again showing up as far as like being the type of commissioners and the type of commission that we said we wanted to be at the beginning of the year, now that we're coming up on 1 year of you and I being chair and vice chair. And it just feels like everything's really tying together with the values and CIPs coming up and amazing assessments like this one in front of us. And I really look forward to digging into them every time. And I just have a deeper appreciation, I think, for the presentations that we're being given, because they feel so substantive and impactful. So I thought it was an awesome meeting, and I also am looking forward to the city council meeting next week, where they'll be discussing it. And I'm looking forward to talking about lots and lots of trees tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It is good to have everybody up here again. So really glad that it's a full house. It feels as it should be. So just nice to see you all. And yeah, just will echo the comments on last meeting. Felt really successful actually having so many public comments, and we, you know, really wanted that. It was an opportunity for us to hear from people. So kudos to everyone who came out. I think kudos to us too for facilitating that. Just want to highlight that Mr. Dalton's matrix in the last meeting, hopefully folks will get to see it before the city council meeting on Tuesday. It was very helpful as a way to begin parsing what's in the master plan. So for those who may be in the know, advocate to have that matrix passed along for city council meeting. And I guess the last thing I would say is I finally got to do a ride-along. So in the past, I'd done a park ranger ride-along, which was really informative. That was several years ago, but I did Costa Mesa PD ride-along. I was particularly interested in gang-related issues in Costa Mesa because there had been a spate of graffiti in my neighborhood probably 6 or 8 months ago. Really interesting. It was primarily ride-along in District 4 and District 5. Eye-opening, seeing the work that officers do was really impressive. So really learned a lot. Just want to thank them. I've thanked them individually, but thank the police department in particular for that opportunity. And for those of you who might have interest in that, put that out there as a possibility, that if there are particular things that you want to learn about in the city of Costa Mesa, the police department can be a really rich resource for that. Might also be a moment for us to think about those police reports and what we want to know from police reports. And I know that's something that's been on our agenda in the past, that we wanted a bit more data or to go back to that kind of data. So throwing that out there for us to discuss at some point in the future. That's it for my comments tonight. Moving to the consent calendar. Is there anyone in the council chambers who would like to provide public comment on anything in the consent calendar? Ms. Perdita, is there anyone online?
No, there's not.
Okay. Can I have a motion for the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Please cast your vote.
That motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Moving to monthly reports. Director Gruner, the Parks and Community Services Director's update.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, commissioners and members of the community. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up my report here. There we go. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to keep my report relatively brief comparatively to my other reports. Just really want to highlight a couple of upcoming events, and as soon as my page, there we go. So the first thing coming up is going to be our Thanksgiving lunch, and that's going to be over at the Senior Center, and that's from 11:30 until 1 p.m. It's a very nominal fee of $10, and it's just a great way for seniors to get together and socialize and celebrate Thanksgiving and just be part of that whole atmosphere and spirit. Now, I will say with these next two events, including the breakfast with Snoopy, these do sell out pretty quickly, so the events are already sold out. However, I do want to just highlight the popularity of these events and how important it is to our senior community to have these things offered to them. So breakfast with Snoopy, same thing. It's actually sold out, but it's on Thursday, December 18th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, that's over at the Senior Center, and it's just a great event for people to come out and socialize and enjoy the festivities of the holidays. Next up, we do have our snowball fight, and this is where our police department versus our teens over at the Downtown Recreation Center. So it's a makeshift snowball, and it's a lot of fun. The kids really enjoy it. You know, it's not often you have an opportunity to go, you know, head to head with police officers, and it's just a great and fun way of doing it. So looking forward to that. And that's going to be on Thursday, December 4th from 5:30 to 7:30. And again, that's at the Downtown Recreation Center, and it's free for kids in 7th through 12th grade. So just a great event. And then, of course, we have Snoopy House, and that's coming up on December 12th through the 19th. So a whole week's worth of fun and activities for kids of all ages, of course, but probably mostly the younger ones who really partake in that and really have just a really fantastic time. So that starts at 5:30 and concludes at 8:30, and that's again December 12th through the 19th over here at City Hall. And then finally, just want to update, this is something we're doing internally, but I do want to share this with the commissioners. In January, we're going to have an all-staff training focusing on CPR and AED certification, and that's obviously a very important element in what we do, as we're always out in the community, engaging not just with those who register for our programs, but just the general public in itself. And so it's very important that we are always up to date with our CPR and AED training. And not listed here, but I do want to mention on November 18th is going to be the Fairview Park Master Plan Draft discussion with the council, and that's going to start at 6 p.m. The regular council meeting, and that's going to be here in the council chambers. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout. And I do want to echo, yeah, we had a great turnout at the last special meeting, in regards to Fairview Park, and yeah, really looking forward to that kind of presence again for next Tuesday. So, and with that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? No one in person, anyone online?
No, there's not.
Okay. Commissioner questions, comments? I'm going to look down. Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. It's really exciting to get the community involved, especially with affordable prices
Yeah.
on the meals. It kind of brought up some memories. PD versus teens. That's something that we used to do back in the day in Shalimar. It was playing hoop, so playing basketball. And so maybe I encourage you to think of maybe next year, beginning of next year, end of next year, to see if we can do the same thing, maybe soccer or something that's a little bit more in, that district likes the sports. It could be also snowball towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I encourage more interaction with the community there and PD. That would be really nice to see.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I've gotten some comments from community members that are interested in CPR certifications or just any training. I think a lot of them have children that they fear that if something happens, like how much time do they have? And so that would be something that would benefit anybody that could be attending that, and potentially having that in different areas would be ideal. I don't know what you would have to do to get something like that, if it's even possible, but just an idea. Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. For the presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Questions, comments on this end? Commissioner Ledger.
So just real quick, where is the AED located for like this area in City Hall?
Yeah, so I mean, they would be typically, I'm not exactly sure where it is right here inside this building, but typically all our facilities do have AED. And they would be located relatively by the front desk area. That's easy to reach and grab and run to wherever you have to go to.
So I have done the AED training too, and it's really important that everyone knows where it's located. So if we're in the middle of a commission or council meeting and somebody in the audience has an issue, where is it located? So that's all.
Yeah.
Vice Chair, do you have any questions, comments? No. I have one question. So excited to hear that those events sell out for the seniors. I'm curious, how much does interest outpace what we can provide? Like, do we have a sense of, if one could expand, what would that expansion look like? I'm kind of just interested in like how many people want to go but don't get to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have a waiting list, but we can certainly look into that. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly, they do sell out pretty quickly. As soon as we advertise it, it's pretty much sold out. And obviously, once the word is out, people will go there as soon as possible and buy a ticket. But we can certainly explore, how many people are not able to go because it's already sold out so quickly, and what options are there for us to, offer something comparable, like a different venue, or maybe it's a different time frame, or maybe we do 2 separate time frames, one a little bit earlier, one a little bit later in the afternoon. So, there's things that we can certainly look into.
I'd be interested. It seems like a cool event. There's clearly an interest in it. It's very affordable. And I would just want that for like anyone who wanted it.
Yeah.
There are those of us who are like those that 10 minutes before something goes on sale, we're like counting down the moments, and then there's the other people who don't, right? So, thank you.
Okay.
Seeing no old business, we will move to new business, and this is the part of the agenda where it's the Mr. Ryan show. So we're really excited to talk about trees and benches tonight. New business item number 1 is donation of a tree, bench, and memorial plaque at Canyon Park. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you very much, Chair Brown. Good evening, Commission. Next item before you is a request to receive a donation, memorial tree, bench, and plaque to be installed at Canyon Park. As always, in reference in your packet is the policy for donations. I believe it's attachment 2. The city received a request from Danielle Sandifer requesting permission from this commission to donate a memorial bench, tree, and plaque in memory of her brother, Jacob Sandifer. The tree and bench, as I mentioned, would be installed at Canyon Park. Jacob was born and raised in Costa Mesa. The family has many fond memories of walking and biking the trails in Canyon Park, and they still walk that loop regularly. Jacob loved dogs, walked his late dog Cooper along with the other family dogs throughout through the canyon. Apparently, dogs were very attracted to him and loved hanging out with them, and it was one of his gifts as the family had shared. It was also a Sandifer tradition to take a family photo under the trees at Canyon Park every year on their mother's birthday or perhaps on Mother's Day. Canyon Park would make an ideal spot for the family to gather and share fond memories of Jacob. After reviewing a few options, the family and staff agreed that the most suitable location for the bench and the tree would be in the lower lawn area, what we refer to as the lower lawn area. That's the next step down from the playground at the top of the park. It'd be near the south entrance, near the more naturalized area. You can see the location depicted in that aerial map, green depicting the tree and the plaque, and then the blue dot with the location of the bench. Another depiction of the location of the bench, set back, nice little shaded area. The tree would be kind of in the middle of that grassy area towards the foreground in that photo. So the staff and family agreed on a purple orchid tree. It's a medium-sized tree, grew up to 17 feet tall. As you can see, it has a beautiful purple flower. It makes that tree a very popular memorial tree. Here are sample photos of the bench that we'd be using and the plaque. As I mentioned, there'll be one single plaque, and that'll be installed near the tree. The staff has reviewed the suggested location, determined it's suitable for the donated items. The installation will have minimal fiscal impact on the city, as the donor will incur the cost of the donated items. The request does meet those city council policy requirements you have before you. Therefore, it's recommended by staff that the commission approve the request from Daniel Sandifer for the donation of the tree and bench in memory of Jacob. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Let's begin with public comment. Is there anyone in the chambers who would like to make a public comment? Welcome.
That was a great presentation, so I'm probably going to repeat myself, but good evening to the members of the Parks and Community Service Commission. My name is Danielle Sandifer, and I am here tonight on behalf of my family to formally request the approval to donate a bench, plaque, and tree in memory of my brother, Jacob Sandifer. We have been in communication with and working with Maintenance Superintendent and City Arborist Valente Martinez, and I just want to say he was extremely helpful and kind throughout this process. He helped us decide on the location of the bench and the tree near the entrance of Canyon Park, as you saw. Jacob was born and raised here in Costa Mesa. He walked through Canyon Park often with his beloved dog Cooper, as well as 2 other family golden labs. So they would all be 3 dogs be walking together with Jacob, leading them. He loved dogs, and dogs certainly loved him and gravitated towards him. We would take bike rides through the park on our way to the beach. We would, take our mom on walks down there for Mother's Day or her birthday and take a family photo every year. And it's going to be hard that he won't be in it this year. I know it's a place that grounds me and brings me peace. I like to think that it did that for Jacob too. That is why we hope to have a bench for those also walking their dogs, somewhere to rest and reflect, as well as a beautiful tree to remind us of the beautiful person my brother was and the love we have for him. That needs a place to go. We only hope to add a little more love and color to an already amazing place. I kindly ask for your approval of this donation and location so we can move forward with the placement of the bench and tree. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much for coming out and for speaking. I really appreciate that. Is there anyone online who would like to comment?
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, comments, questions? Vice Chair.
I think this is such a beautiful way to remember him. It's such a beautiful park. This will be the perfect addition. Great positioning of the bench with a perfect view of all the dogs running around and kids. And so thanks for inviting us into a way to remember him and support you guys in this difficult time.
Okay. Really appreciate you coming out again and doing this, and it's nice to be able to engage on a topic that is so meaningful for you all, and obviously something in an area that we care about too. So thank you. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion.
Commissioner Garcia Arcos. You can.
Yeah, really appreciate you sharing that, and it's a beautiful park, and I'm gonna try to recommend something that can make sure that we protect that tree and we do what's right for the tree so it can be healthy and it can thrive, and in hopes that it can just outlive all of us, so my motion is that we are intentional for the next 3 years, that we water consistently as needed for that tree so that the roots can establish, and that a certified arborist will be on staff to plant that tree so it can be planted correctly. And if there's any defects to the tree, that it be returned and that we get the right tree, same species.
And a second?
I will go ahead and second that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
That motion carries 7-0.
Great. Thank you all again. New business item number 2, a donation of a memorial bench and plaque at Brentwood Park. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you again. Yes, the next item before you is a request to receive a donation of a memorial bench and plaque at Brentwood Park. City received a request from Bridget Nichols requesting permission from this commission to donate a memorial bench and plaque in memory of her son Brandon Beach, who lost his life in a car accident earlier this year. The bench would be installed at Brentwood Park. As you can see from the letter that Ms. Nichols shared, that the Nichols family has lived in Costa Mesa for over 34 years. Brandon grew up attending schools in the local Newport Mesa School District. He was an active participant in the local Boy Scout troop, where he was involved in planting trees behind here, right here at City Hall. Brandon was described as being an exceptionally kind and thoughtful individual that was always eager to help anyone in need. Ms. Nichols shared that Brandon was a vivacious child with boundless energy. Having 3 kids, I kind of know what that means, that trips to visit Brentwood Park were helping get out some of that energy. The park held a special place in the hearts as they made many fond memories of playing in the park, their daily walks with dogs, and celebrating birthdays there. So Brentwood Park would make an ideal spot for the family to gather and, of course, share fond memories of Brandon. After reviewing the few options, the family and staff agreed that the most suitable location for the bench would be on the east side of the park. That would be near the user-defined walking path that will soon be turned into an established DG path. And here's a couple more depictions of that. You can kind of see the user-defined trail in the background. Again, we'll be making that into a defined DG path. There is another memorial bench at the north end of the park at the beginning of the path, and so that bench will be swapped out so that both benches match the new amenities slated for the park.
Our monitors aren't following along, our individual monitors, just as a heads up.
Are you back?
It's just wants to move to the next slide, but it's not. We're stuck on the large view of Brentwood Park. It's trying.
Yeah, mine is kind of glitching. Like, no, now it stopped.
Is that working now?
I think it.
That's what I see now, yeah.
Can you move to the next, to the individual? Yeah. Yeah, we're great. Thank you.
So that-
Thank you. It
that worked?
fixed it.
Okay. So as I mentioned, the bench at the beginning of the trail, the existing memorial bench will be swapped out to match some of the newer amenities. We've switched the kind of green coated metal bench to these wood, kind of recycled wood benches that'll kind of bring out that more naturalized feel of that park and the new playground that'll be coming. So again, here's a sample photo of that bench, and the plaque will be inset into the back of the bench, which makes it a little bit easier for maintenance and keeping that plaque looking nice. Once again, staff has reviewed the location, determined it's suitable for the donated items. Again, the installation will have minimal fiscal impact on the city, as again, the donor does incur the cost of the donated items, and the request does meet that city council policy. Therefore, it's recommended that the commission approve the request from Bridget Nichols for the donation of the bench in memory of Brandon Beach. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Is there anyone in the council chambers who would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, Ms. Perdita, is there anyone online?
No, there is not.
Okay. Commissioner questions, comments? Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Thank you for that presentation. I wanted to ask you, so for that picture, if you go back before the plaque, it was showing the plaque. Could we show that on screen, please?
Is that the one you're?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, before that one.
before?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, you see where the bench is? There seems to be a tree right behind it with stakes. Is that still existing there?
Yes.
Would it be possible, and maybe we can put that as a request, to change that tree and have something that they can look at, even though it's behind them? It seems to be dead or dying. I can't make out the picture, but it looks like it's dead. Or that's more of a question. Is it a stress tree?
From the photo, I can't tell. I defer to staff that were just out there. If it were dead, it would be removed and replaced. If it's stressed, it'll be addressed. The bench, the location that you see in the photo is just kind of a representative location, so it's not going to be right near that tree. It'll be a little bit forward of that, but
Yeah.
staff will definitely take a look at that tree and
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
and make sure that it's
Yeah.
it's good. It looks like it's fairly newly planted.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I really like the area and the coverage from the foliage. So it's a perfect location. I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ledger?
I just wanted to compliment staff on their excellent Photoshop skills of the bench.
We're working on it. Thank you, though. We'll take it.
Other commissioner comments and questions? Commissioner Kamala, you have your light on, but no. Okay. Oh, Vice Chair Wright.
So can you clarify that like existing dirt walkway, is that the walkway that we're sort of like reinforcing and that's our plan?
Correct. Yeah, there's been we call it a user-defined path. It's just where people walk and meander through repeatedly, and it creates a wear spot in the grass. And you see that that's where they like to be, that's where they like to walk. So we're just making that more of a permanent fixture and expanding it and making it a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, I remember that from the presentation, which I love. I actually remember saying like, we should put benches along that walkway because it is such a great lookout spot. I guess I'm curious why are we possibly going to put it on the other side of the walkway? Because at this point, the back side of the fence would be facing people walking. And I guess the like organic experience of walking and then being like, I guess I'll sit would be that the seat part is facing inward towards the path. Does that make sense? So the bench would still be facing the playground. It would just be on the other side of the walkway.
Correct. I believe that's the plan.
Oh, okay.
Again,
Well, then that kind of answers the dead tree question too. It would be on the other side of that too.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Again, the Photoshop.
Should I volunteer my Canva skills to you guys? There's a remove background feature now.
From a maintenance standpoint, this is pretty good for
I'm
photoshopping.
sure.
I mean,
Okay, that's great. I approve this bench.
Non-Photoshop questions and comments, anyone? That remove background feature, though, is actually a game changer. So I'm just going to say it's a game changer. Do I hear a motion? Someone, Commissioner Ledger.
Make a motion to approve the bench.
Thank you, ma'am. Second?
Second that. Sorry, I beat you to it. Second it.
That motion carries 7-0.
Wonderful. It feels good to do these bench donations. So, a highlight of tonight. Do you need a drink of water before we move into number 3?
I think I'm good, although I'm going to have my staff watch this playback so they can get the feedback on the Photoshop.
And I did hear Vice Chair volunteer her Canvas skill. Maybe she can teach the teacher.
All right, new business item number 3, review of the City of Costa Mesa urban canopy and land assessment. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you very much. So just a little background on this. We'll go over some current conditions. So our urban forest we have an urban forest of approximately 23,000 trees right now, with an estimated value of over $85 million. There's 270 different tree species. 94% of the existing trees are rated fair or good, with 87% rated in good condition, which that is the top condition. So it's good, fair, and poor. I think it's important to keep in mind in terms of tree health, we're talking in terms over many years, different cycles that impact the overall health and vitality of a tree. So if you look at the last 10 years, most of which has been drought years with a few periods of heavy rain. And we have the introduction of new and non-native extremely invasive pests, the most notable of which would be the polyphagous shothole borer, which has been found to affect over 200 species of plants and trees. So given all that, having the urban forest that we currently have is, I think, pretty impressive. The city's urban forest and canopy obviously contribute to environmental quality, public health, water management, help with runoff, and aesthetics and real property values. When it comes to property, besides the actual property, trees are one of the only thing that really increase in value as they grow older. You see a lot of depreciation on different things, but trees are one of the few things that actually appreciate in value over time. The bigger they grow, the more valuable they become. So they are a huge asset to our residents and in our environment. Given the significant importance of the city's urban forest and the impact it has on the environment, the health and welfare of the residents of Costa Mesa, it's obviously important that the city does all it can to preserve and ultimately expand the existing tree canopy. In order to accomplish that, we must first examine where we are today. It's hard to have a goal and reach something without knowing where you started and having that kind of initial assessment. So in order to accomplish that, the city contracted with West Coast Arborists to conduct a urban tree canopy and land assessment. So again, the goal of the assessment was to provide a baseline evaluation of the city's Costa Mesa tree canopy coverage, analyze its distribution, and that data can guide future strategies. This will not necessarily provide specific recommendations on how to expand it, but it can be used to drive budgetary decisions, guide future policy, and help with decision making. And I think it can be used in multiple departments and bodies, obviously public works, with future transportation projects, but also development services, planning commission, city council, and of course, this body here. This is the means to measure the progress which we make. It simply provides a starting point. City would be able to check on progress every 4 to 6 years. That allows newly planted trees, depending on size planted, to add enough canopy to register in the updated satellite imagery, while also capturing any canopy loss from removals or storms. So we'll start out with the assessment boundaries. The study evaluated urban tree canopy and possible planting areas across multiple geographic scales, including citywide boundary, the 6 council districts, 37 census tracts, 20 different land use groups, and 34 designated park spaces. This presentation will focus on the first 3 citywide council districts and census tracts. I think those were the most likely to provide the most benefits to goals mentioned previously regarding budget, policy-making decision. That's not to say there's not good information in the land use and the designated park areas, but I think those were the 3 that we'll focus in on tonight. This multi-scale approach obviously allows for target decision-making to enhance the urban forest. We'll start out with the data sources. So it used high-resolution imagery from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This was all collected in the summer of 2024. To prove accuracy and ensure consistency with the local land use classifications, Additional GIS layers were provided by the city. Those were integrated in the analysis. So our city team, IT team that handles the GIS, they were a huge help in putting this all together, and we really appreciate their work on this. Those layers included things like low to medium to high density residential, commercial, right-of-ways, schools, et cetera, all the different land uses that we have in our development. Following that process, the team did a manual refinement. They applied looking for different GIS layers that included applying buildings, bodies of water, wetlands, and then looking for shadows to make sure we're differentiating between shadows and we're actually buildings, to make sure we had the highest amount of accuracy possible. So the land cover is classified as pervious or impervious. Pervious land allows water infiltration. It includes canopy, vegetation, soil, and bodies of water, which contribute to stormwater management and ecological health. The impervious land prevents water absorption, includes building, roads, other surfaces that lead to increased runoff and heat retention. In context of urban forestry and strategic canopy expansion, suitable planting areas refer to land classifications where tree establishment is both feasible and beneficial. So not just the beneficial part, but where is a tree gonna grow at its best, which is a very important piece. These areas typically include vegetated spaces, exposed soil that are not obstructed by existing infrastructure. They present optimal conditions for tree growth and allowed for improved canopy, enhanced stormwater absorption, and increased environmental resilience. Conversely, unsuitable planting areas are locations where tree planting is impractical or conflicts with existing land functions. So they include roads, buildings, other developed infrastructures, ecologically or functional restricted areas such as bodies of water, transportation corridors, utility easements, and certain open spaces that might otherwise be considered plantable, such as sports fields, school tracks, designated recreation fields, maintained open lawns and parks were also excluded. Those were classified as unsuitable, and they're essential for community recreation, athletics, and other public events, such as movies in the park and things of that nature. So of Costa Mesa's approximately 441.9 million square feet, a total land area of 1.87% has been specifically designated as unusable sports areas. There's an additional 12.3% that fall under other types of unsuitable planting areas. The community spaces such as Fairview Park, Costa Mesa Golf Course, and Talbot Regional Park. So here's where the information we got from that initial assessment. The information was contained in 2024. You can see the canopy coverage in the city of Costa Mesa was 13.88%. The areas unsuitable planting were 80.48%, and then areas suitable for future planting at 5.63%. This may not seem like a huge number, but when you look at the comparison across other local cities that have done similar studies, we're in pretty good shape. You can see there, Newport Beach, 12.6%, Irvine at 12.7%, all the way down to Huntington Beach at 8.8%. So I think we're in pretty good shape overall. If you look at the Southern California regional average, 15%, a little bit below that. But in the recommended minimum urban canopy cover of 20% to promote environmental resilience, mitigate urban heat, and enhance livability. So this data, like I mentioned, was pulled in 2024. Some of the direct comparisons were a little bit limited, as some of this data is collected over years, different years, but they're all pulled from CAL FIRE, USDA Forest Services, and things like that. So I think overall, this does underscore the ongoing progress in the city and obviously help identify future efforts. And here we go by council district. District 1 has the highest tree canopy coverage, while District 5 has the lowest. Other districts fall within a range of about 4%. District 1 has the lower percent of a potential planning area, but it's the largest district in terms of land mass, with a total area of over 115 million square feet. And then District 4 has the smallest district by area, and thus it presents a lesser opportunity for canopy expansion, mainly due to the size of that district. But you can see the lighter green has the suitable planting areas by percentages across that bottom line. And then census by census tract, another interesting way to look at it. Canopy cover across Costa Mesa census tracts ranged anywhere from 3.6% at the lowest, all the way up to 24.26%. And then the suitable planting opportunities varied from 1.38% to 23.7%. The most promising tracts for expansion include tract 525.01, which is at the upper right hand of that map. That's a lot of, I think, industrial areas and might have some good right-of-ways and areas to expand. Tracts with lower canopy coverage and available areas such as 634.04 and 636.05. So those might require other strategies for greening efforts or expanding the canopy, such as prioritizing maintenance and tree health, selecting the largest appropriate species tree when trees must be replaced, and then avoiding undersized ornamental trees where larger trees can successfully mature. So that's an important piece. I think we talk about choosing the right tree for the right space and the right amount of space to grow and mature. So some of the ecological benefits are listed here. I won't go through all of them or read it to you, but so the system uses iTree Echo, which is a tool. The dollar amounts in iTree Echo represent the estimated economic value of ecosystem services, such as carbon storage, air pollution removal, avoided runoff, and energy savings. They calculate these by standardized benefit values, and the estimates are produced using U.S. Forest Service developed models and algorithms, and it's based on peer-reviewed research to link tree structure and environmental data ecosystem benefits. So obviously the benefits of the trees, as you can see through the different numbers, are in the millions, in some sections hundreds of thousands, and then millions in carbon storage. So just some of the graphs as far as tree characteristics. I pulled this one because it shows the DBH, which is the measurement of the stem at 4.5 feet. So they measure the diameter. And if you look at that 3 to 6 and 6 to 12, where we have quite a few trees, I want to say about up to 8 inches are going to be younger trees that have a lot of opportunity to grow and expand their canopies naturally. So it just shows that we have a large percentage of younger trees with the opportunity to fill in and grow over time and help improve that canopy coverage, which I thought was good to see. And then in terms of leaf size, I pulled this one out mainly for the Canary Island pine. It shows the greatest percentage of leaf area, which is interesting. You don't think of a pine tree having leaf area, but you can see in this graph that does have the highest amount of leaf coverage in the city from that tree, and it is obviously it is one of the trees that we probably received the most complaints about in terms of mess. And I know that this body has seen a number of them come before you as requests for removals. But this kind of highlights the importance of even the pine trees that can create mess in windy conditions, that they do have quite a bit of leaf surface and offer a lot of benefits to the community that are maybe underappreciated at times, especially maybe when they're in your front yard. So some conclusions from the report, where canopy is lacking. It's lacking in districts 2 and 5, with District 6 and District 6 with canopy coverage between 12.73 and 13.49. Also in census tracts, 63701 and 62601. Those show the lowest canopy percentages citywide. And then there's a lot of high residential and commercial corridors along Harbor Boulevard, Bristol Street, and South Coast Plaza, area that are short on planting areas. These areas contain a lot of impervious surfaces, a minimum public green space, and limited planting within private parcels. It's something maybe that planning and development can look at later on down the road when reviewing newer projects. And obviously some of those transportation corridors as new projects come up. I can think of one in the Placentia Avenue project that we recently completed a few years ago that Director Seth Rahman and the team, we walked that corridor, that entire corridor, and looked for places where we could add trees and cut out additional concrete in that parkway. And I thought that was a very successful project. And so this kind of highlights that need to continue on with that. So those suitable areas for new tree plantings are found in District 3 and District 6. Some of the land use categories, I know we didn't really cover these, but I thought this was interesting. We do have some opportunities in our city right-of-way, which is good. I pulled medical that was highlighted in there. It's just interesting. It highlighted 2 medical facilities, and I think those are in large part that there's a lot of parking lot area and maybe some green space around those that maybe could be planted, but again, that's private property that maybe planning could look at in the future. And then obviously, low density residential, there's some opportunity, some more opportunity there. Parks, Tewinkle Park and Wakeham Park were identified. Those spaces have some existing soil to make them ideal for canopy expansion. Obviously, we want to protect that green and open space for recreational use. But I think the system recognized that there was some spaces in between the existing canopy coverage to add some trees and protect those open spaces for recreational use. So areas most in need of protection versus expansion. So East Side, Costa Mesa, and parts of District 1, they contain large residential lots with existing mature tree canopy of up to 16.34%. So those are the kind of areas we look to make sure we're providing proper maintenance, proper inspections, and highlighting any pest issues early on and addressing those issues. And then, for protection for removals and projects, especially ones that touch on the city right-of-way. And then the need for expansion, commercial zones with only 8.63% canopy and school properties. So school properties averaging less than 8% coverage. Would be great to have some expansion efforts there. Obviously, these are private properties that we can look at with our planning team. We can certainly work with our partners at the school district and maybe come up with a program to work on planting near those locations. And then another interesting point, FDC contains a large pervious surface and poor canopy coverage, so hopefully there's some opportunities as that project moves forward to get some trees planted in those neighborhoods as they're developed. And then just general citywide trends. I don't think this is surprising, but it favors low density residential areas. Obviously, property owners planting in their backyards, front yards, as well as the right-of-way that the city plants their trees in. It underserves high-density residential and commercial zones. And we see that in a lot of high-density properties where the property owners don't necessarily plant trees. They have maybe a little green space, but another thing to maintain is not necessarily their priority. But hopefully there's some opportunities in the city right away in those areas. And then the commercial zones, I think we talked about maybe getting with our planning department and looking at new projects as they come up and having some requirements for tree canopy expansion. And then census tracts 63802 and 63902 show a combination of low existing canopy and high planting suitability. So just to wrap things up, I stole this meme from, I can't remember where, but I thought it was pretty good. The main goal of the assessment, again, was to provide a measurable baseline to see where we are now with regards to our tree canopy coverage. Now we can begin to look at the goals of increasing that percentage to 18% coverage, or even the recommended 20%. It appears that 18 to 19 is achievable in most of those areas. So that may not seem like a lot, but when you look at it, that's close to a 50% increase in our canopy coverage. So it's a nice obtainable goal, and this will help us see where we've been and get us there. And again, how do we do that? We do that by protecting and expanding the existing tree canopy through proper and routine maintenance. We can address those through budget and prioritization, starting with young tree care, as Commissioner Garcia-Arcos mentioned, and focusing on that. And then having strict tree protection standards with regards to removals, requests for removals, and including our projects, both private projects and in our city projects. We make sure we are protecting those trees during construction. And then, of course, strategic and purposeful planting, which means that we need to be selecting the right tree for the right area, making sure that tree has room to grow. I'm not planting a tree that's going to grow, 8 feet at the trunk into a 4-foot planter and expecting it just to be okay. So we need to make sure we're having a purposeful planting process that makes sense and ensures the survival and growth of our trees. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to privilege public comment first, and then we can come to commissioner questions and comments. Is there anyone in the chambers who would like to make a public comment? Good evening.
Members of the commission, my name is Eric, co-founder of Bright Youth and community-led organization currently focused on serving Westside Costa Mesa, particularly in District 4. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to use our public park space on Shalimar Drive to have a 6-week financial literacy class with the kids in partnership with Core CDC. I would also like to thank Commissioner Garcia-Arcos for his help in organizing this as well. With your assistance, we're able to build more community and have a successful course with our youth outdoors due to currently not having any indoor community space. But tonight I wanted to talk about the urban forest assessment by West Coast arborists. Here are some cool facts about trees. An article by the U.S. Forest Service titled Trees and Civic Life stated that tree planting events increase youth civic engagement by 60%. Teens who plant trees are 60% more likely to vote or volunteer. A Japanese Ministry of Health and Stanford study in 2022 showed that forest bathing under city trees decreased cortisol by 12%. And a University of Illinois study in 2018 titled Green Space and Violent Crime showed that adding 10 trees per block cut total crime by 52%. And this is shootings, assault, and theft. So if we refer back to the urban forest assessment, on page 11, it shows District 4, our home, having the lowest planting potential in the city. Only 3.37% of land is suitable for trees. That's like 860,000 square feet. 83% is unsuitable. Not because trees can't grow, but I think it's because we've just seemingly chosen to prioritize pavement, parking, and profit over people, unfortunately. On page 22, the report's own conclusion says that they want to focus on bridging environmental disparities in central and west side tracts. And District 4 is the central west tract. We are hotter and more at risk, yet the report's planting strategy seems to skip us with districts with bigger lawns and easier winds. But this is fixable. Page 14 shows that rights of way are 11.91% plantable citywide, which is the highest potential of any land use. Basically, what I'm asking is to adopt a District 4 green equity pilot, 50 trees in year 1, funded by CAL FIRE equity grants, Bright Youth can partner with reputable tree care companies and nonprofits to help plant more trees in a creative way in our district, considering it's very small and compact. We can lean on volunteers with the WCISA, for example, the Western Chapter International Society of Arboriculture. Number two, we can reclassify 1% of impervious land in District 4, which is around 200.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. When I saw this item on your agenda, I was very interested. I was very interested in seeing where we could have more trees, where we have a lot of trees already. I was interested in seeing all of this data. And I think the report is a good enough summary, but I would have liked to see more data. What I really would have liked to see was a map of where the potential planting areas are, a map of areas where there's already a lot of tree coverage, where there is little tree coverage. Right now, what we have are census tracts and the percentages in those census tracts, and that's fine. You can generalize it a bit, but I want to be able to see a specific site. If, for example, a development is being considered, like was mentioned at Fairview Developmental Center, that's a big one, and we can see that we need more trees there. Great. What about at another development, One Metro West, just to use another big one? Does that area need more trees? Would I be able to figure that out using this assessment? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe so. So just the ability to go into a deeper level with a map, I think would be very beneficial for this assessment, and hopefully is one of the recommendations that can be put in at the end of this report to publish and publicize a map to see where our trees are and where our tree planting areas can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment in the chambers, is there anyone online?
Those participating on Zoom, if you'd like to raise your hand to provide a public comment. No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner comments and questions, and maybe before I go down the line, we've been asked to review and provide comments and recommendations. So I think if folks want to group that in with their questions, feel free to do so. I think this is an opportunity for us to think about the use value of this document. And just a reminder that we've spent so many months putting together our values document. This strikes me as a moment where we can revisit that work as we're asking questions, as we're making recommendations. I'm going to look to my left first. Commissioner Ledger, start with you and then can go down the row.
So based on your comments on the school district, I do want to say the previous school board took the route of just, instead of pruning trees or something, if a branch fell, they saw it as a danger and cut it down. And now our current school board is building shade structures when we could be planting trees. Some of the schools have fields that are so large the kids can't go to the edge of them to play, that trees could be planted. So I would love to see the city work alongside with the school district to get all these trees planted instead of just shade structures. I mean, we do need those. It's getting hotter and hotter, but they do have so much valuable property for trees that is not being used for anything else. And along those lines, based on one of the public speakers, you could get the kids involved in planting them on the weekends. Thank you.
Commissioner Kamala, do you want to go next?
Sure. Thank you for that presentation. We're all in it for the trees. I'm a big fan. So, question, I have two. One, 94% of the trees were good fare with 6%, I'm guessing, poor rating or undesirable. Of those 6%, I guess I know that there were some invasive species. Was that the primary kind of cause of them being in that poor condition, or was it other factors?
I would imagine, obviously I don't have that information in front of me, but I would imagine it'd be across different issues. There may be some pest issues. It could be some poor structure. from storms, remaining leftover from storms, branches break. It causes some poorly structured trees. It could be irrigation issues, but there's a myriad of issues. Typically, we're in that poor range. We're monitoring them and keep an eye on them. So we do have trends that come where, we go through a lot of drought. You see a tree that's struggling. You try to address those issues, whether it's a pest issue, a trimming issue, or something else going on. Maybe it's receiving too much water in the location and trying to adjust sprinkler heads and things like that. So that poor grouping is still manageable. Below that, that'd be a dead tree that just needs to be removed. So poor is still a tree that is live and potentially viable. And our hope would be to get that to the next level up rather than having to remove it. I don't know if does that answer your question?
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess I wanted to make sure that that 6% wasn't something that's completely controllable by us, something that we could have prevented as we look at planting more in the future. Yeah. And then second question is, has a tree canopy survey ever been attempted or done in the past? And if it has, kind of, I guess, what happened? What were the next steps? What were the roadblocks?
This is the first, to my knowledge, the first canopy assessment we've done in this city.
Cool.
So we've looked at, in the past, we've looked at metrics of planting. How many trees did we plant? And so this gives us, I think, a better idea of truly where we are, rather than we planted 200 or 300 trees, which is a great thing. But this, I think, is a more measurable approach and more data specific.
Okay, and I had a question about this survey being private or public, but I think in the presentation you answered that. Is there any plan to kind of partner with residences or even just more private properties to add trees to help with that 20% target?
So we do have existing programs for trees to plant in right-of-way, in a city-owned right-of-way. The residents can call or go online and request a tree to be planted in front of their home. They're entitled to one tree in the front parkway if they live on a corner, one in the front, two on the sides. We already do have that program, but I think this is the beginning of maybe a larger conversation about different programs.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorn-Parker.
Yeah, I put this under courageous, intentional planning. We've recognized the canopy is critical, especially in our high density. So my questions that I'm hoping can be included are kind of the what ifs. So the first one is, we know there's a lot of trees that are planted in low density. For example, in my neighborhood, the city planted palm trees. I know we don't want to kill trees, but palm trees are the worst tree to plant. We're closest to the Back Bay. If that lights on fire, we know palms are one of the best avenues to spread fires. So the question becomes, how do we be intentional and courageously replace planting that we now know is not the best for the environment, it's not going to grow the best, and it really is going to provide that canopy notion that we're talking about. Our business was located in a different city. I'll just say the name quickly, Orange. And they took out ficus and they put in these little itty bitty palm trees. So when the fire spread from the canyon, you had 6 palm trees on fire in front of all our businesses. So I don't want that repeat. The other part is we talked about the school district, intentional coalitions. It costs water, lots of water in the beginning. Is there any collaboration with our water service provider? And we need to make that outreach, because in order to ask for the next part, we need them to agree that they're going to provide water service at a reduced amount at just cost. Otherwise, this is a moot conversation to have. It's becoming drier, hotter. I know we're about to have this deluge for 2 weeks, but we may have nothing for the rest of the winter. And it comes to schools. Schools is a taxpayer funded like the city. We already collaborate with using space, but as we've already been mentioned by our commissioner, how do we work in intentional planning to see where at the schools can the city collaborate with the school district, because those are open spaces for our citizens and our, well, actually all of our residents. So I want to see that happen in a larger strategic plan, because those are so much of the green space in our high density population areas. We can't ignore that. The other part is, what if you referred to it private owners? When we were under a huge drought, the water and sewer companies throughout California offered money for us to tear out our water sucking green grass. What if we go to, especially the high density property owners that have apartments, it would save them money, but we go back to the conversation about the water district. If we offered a program where we agreed, and also you could make it part of the community, Saturday, Sunday planning, but we'd have to provide the trees, the equipment, all of that, but also the property owner has to be also provided incentive to do this, because the water bill's gonna go up while the trees are getting established. That's just the bottom line. Maybe they can take, I don't see very many with grass. The other one is, I'm gonna say something out loud that I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of emails. FTC, which is a Fairview Development Center. I'm sorry, I don't know, we talked about our golf courses, our water sucking grasses. I'm a golfer. I don't understand why we're not looking at our golf courses and maybe reducing to an 18-hole and a 9-hole, because that butts up against or adjacent to this new development. You talk about canopy, you talk about open spaces, you also talk about playgrounds, and you talk about the quality of life. That is an opportunity that's once in a lifetime. Again, because it's going to be intentional, we need to ask these what ifs out loud. I know we have a lot of golfers, and I know it brings in a gross revenue, but I know golf courses also are very expensive. And how many of our residents are really playing golf, and how many are outside, which is great. I love that we do that, but I'm sorry, we need canopy, we need green space, we need the ability for our students and our families to breathe in trees. So this is my what ifs, and this is a time for us to be courageous. So if you want to look at what I'm referring to, is look at the species of the trees. I mean, even if they're healthy, are they the best tree that can long-term create the canopy and the green space? 2 is, how do we collaborate and do a strategic plan with all of our schools, especially those that are under parked and under canopy? 3 is, how do we set up a program for our private owners, especially in the high density apartment areas, where we can support them financially as well as personnel and turn it into a community planting? I love that idea. And 4th is, how do we really look at the golf course? Because it's going to have to be reconfigured anyway for a road, but how do we really take a look at that and evaluate it and see, can we grab those 9 holes and really redesign the footprint? Because that golf course has been there a long time, but I just don't want to let that go. So with that is courageous, intentional planning is like nothing we've had before.
Do you want to give your email to the golfers? I mean, I'm teasing, but
no, I can't. You can, because I see them on the golf course.
You're online. You're online. We can find you.
I love Costa Mesa. I'm about to lose a part of my Newport Beach. I call all my old lady golf courses, or not the Costa Mesa one. That's a challenging one. It's, yeah, but the Newport Beach one is about, they're taking out a chunk of that to have a surfing, a water surf park, which is horrible, but you know what? Life goes on.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Houston.
Chair Brown, just one comment at Commissioner Dorn Parker. So I'd be happy. The first point is, we're no longer really planting palm trees. So that's an easy one off the list, and something that can be looked at in the future, and not just with palms, but other trees, is looking at an intentional replacement plan, budgeted out. How much would it cost to remove these and replace them with other trees? Some other cities have done something similar to that with liquid ambers and other trees that maybe are suffering from different pests and things. And again, it's that intentional planning. Again, this document kind of starts this conversation, which is what it's all about. So.
Thank you, and glad to know we don't plant palm trees like another city.
Thank you. I wish you would have started over here, because they took my questions and then asked better ones after too. But anyways, thank you for the presentation. I actually enjoyed that report thoroughly too. I didn't know I liked to know so much about the canopy, but I mean, to analyzed, almost 500 million square feet is a pretty big feature. And anyways, it was really interesting to read about. I did have just a couple quick questions. I think you kind of touched when Commissioner Kamala asked. It sounds like this is the first canopy assessment. So, the 13% roughly currently and the 5% potential seems like a great goal. One of the questions I had was, has the city had a goal with respect to canopy before, or because this is the first assessment, is this really like the first time we're targeting something?
So as long as I've been with the city, it's been about trees planted. That's been the goal, which is great. I mean, it's not a bad thing to want to plant 200-300 trees every year. I mean, that's a wonderful goal. But this is the first time we've actually did a true assessment to provide a little bit more critical data as to what we're doing with those plantings and how that's actually enhancing the canopy.
Nice. Okay. And then Commissioner Dorn Parker had, I think, some good ideas. Because really my question that I had in my head was, how do you go from that 13 to that 18%? I mean, it's a great goal, but not really knowing how, not knowing how to get there. So she had mentioned, collaborating with schools was one possible option, but can you talk to me about, like, in the past, some of the programs that we've had to plant trees? I mean, I'm trying to think moving forward, okay, hey, we're looking to expand by 5%, but it'd be helpful for me to understand in the past what the city's done to, have tree planting initiatives, or has it been kind of the goal that you mentioned, say like 200 trees, something like that, or can I kind of get a snapshot of what that looked like previously for, increasing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past, and currently, we do have the residential tree planting program, which has been, I think that's been in existence since I've been with the city, so a little over 11 years. I think in the last maybe 3 to 5 years, we've really kind of pushed that a little bit more and came on with the online requests. And I think we've done a couple of outreaches on advertising on that particular. Prior to that, it's been mainly the tree planting, the number of trees planted. We do have an annual event on Arbor Day for tree planting. So that's been one event that we're looking to expand on and grow and maybe have multiple events throughout the year. West Coast Arborist has expressed interest in helping us with that public outreach and classes and things of that nature. So that would be helpful. And then through our normal CIP projects, and increasing the amount of trees we plant, and then in our own maintenance requests and looking through parks and where we can plant trees. But it's mainly been about planting trees.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the presentation.
Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. I agree. I think we can get more. We can really get a map, and I know it's going to cost more, but I think it's worth the investment. And just hearing all these comments, I really appreciate all the support within the canopy. And I wanted to ask you, when is Arbor Day? When do we plant trees?
So typically it's the last Friday in April. However, we've kind of morphed that to go along with the other Earth Day. Thank you. I just blanked on it. So we morphed that to kind of coincide with Earth Day. We have a huge Earth Day celebration here at City Hall. It's usually around within a week of traditional Arbor Day. So I think this last year is the first time we flexed it and we combined those days together.
Okay. The reason why I asked this question is the best time let me ask you this question. When is the best time to plant a tree in terms of weather?
In terms of weather, it would typically be springtime before it gets too hot. In California, that's expanded a little bit with the seasons. It depends on the temperature thing, but typically springtime.
Okay, so I got this reply from a few arborist friends that we collaborate with, and the best time to do that is from October till January. And January being, if you plant the tree before then, January is when the roots start to grow, and that's what we're trying to encourage. And I believe one of the biggest problems that we have is watering trees. So would you be open to changing the date to help with the tree planting for better establishment for those trees?
So I'm not sure that I would agree with planting trees in winter when some of those trees are going dormant or slowing their growth, and the soil temperatures are getting a lot colder. Typically we're open to planting trees year round. We have 2 planting times, generally speaking, usually in the springtime, and then come again in October. We don't plant anything in the summertime. Traditionally, nationwide, Arbor Day is that fourth Friday in April. That's throughout California, and I think we tag on with many of the other cities. So the hype and the strength as a group is around that time. I don't know that I would necessarily change that. And there's some requirements as being a Tree City USA that they want you to recognize Arbor Day. That's part of that requirement, which is very important in our area as well. So we're open to planting any day. I don't know that I would recommend switching Arbor Day. And honestly, there's a lot of people, arborists included, tell you the best day to plant a tree or best time to plant a tree is right now. So, but we're typically planting year round with the exception of summer.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that was just a question that came up after the comments. But I do feel like the simple solution to all of this is mulch. And I want to ask this question is how many trees are we mulching in percentage with the 23,300 and something trees that we have?
So I don't have hard numbers on that. We typically only mulch trees that are in parks. We have a really large problem with mulch staying in place in parkways, roadways. Wind blows, it moves. So realistically, right now it's focused on parks. And I don't have an accurate number of how many trees we have in just parks.
Yeah, so the reason why I bring this up is it's an easy solution. So I spoke with Dr. James Downer, who has been studying mulch for over 40 years, gave a presentation, and also with Andy Trouter, who oversees West Coast Arborist, and they mentioned that if you plant a tree and you don't mulch it, you shouldn't plant it. They really recommend mulching trees, and that's something that we would want to recommend the city to change. If it's a problem, let's find a solution and let's find a way where we're investing in these trees but doing the right things for the trees. There was something that Andy Trouter told me that in San Diego they planted many trees and with no irrigation, and 100% of them that didn't have mulch died. 50% of them survived with no water. Mulch has so many benefits, not only in biology, it has mycelium, mycorrhizae, all that good stuff, but also it retains moisture. So just understanding the biology of mulch is very, very beneficial and the most affordable thing you can do. Anytime we prune a tree, we can just, instead of taking it to the landfill, we can repurpose it and just put it within our trees. So that's something that I wanted to recommend. I have other questions, but I wanted to see if y'all can take it on for now.
Could I put you on the spot for a minute and say a bit more about what you would want to see on a map? Mm-hmm. Or do you feel like you can speak to that now? Or do you want to think about it as I go to Vice Chair? Okay. Vice Chair, do you have questions, comments?
What if I was like, no, I'm good, thanks. This was so awesome. You know I always love your reports. And everything you do in your department. So I'm thrilled that you guys push this forward, especially hearing that this is the first time this has ever been done. And I guess sort of understanding that this is just the base of data and information, and then we'll build off of that. I guess I want to ask you, what is your best case scenario if we had infinite money?
I would think that
Would this become a CIP? I'm thinking just very practically, would we then, let's say council is obsessed. We have so much money and we say this is what we want to dedicate all of our money to. Do you think it would become like, how would you even break up a strategy plan to tackle this?
I think one of the things that we've requested from West Coast Arborists, and they did finalize that today, was that we were doing an overlay with the canopy coverage related to our maintenance districts, which is great because we have an inventory with our maintenance districts that does show where the vacant tree sites are and those types of things. So I think that's going to be very helpful. I think, yes, it could become a CIP project.
How many maintenance districts are there?
I'm going to get them mixed up with the streets and trees. It's either 24 or 32 maintenance districts. But yes, it could become a CIP project where if council or PACs wanted to recommend, we'd like to see, tree planting focused on this district, this census tract, those types of things focused on this area. It absolutely could become a CIP project. Again, we tend to focus on the tree planting, the maintenance, the appropriate maintenance, and funding for maintenance to take care of the existing tree canopy is also an important piece of that. So I imagine that more of a maintenance than a CIP project, but it could easily morph into something of that nature as well. Again, this is data for whatever body to look at and say, hey, this is how I see it, along with staff, of course. We're going to be using this to plan, but this was also for this group and council and anyone else that wants to look at it and say, hey, I have a great idea how we partner with private industry or school districts or whoever.
Yeah, I love the language of the maintenance districts, almost like there's 32, but we could identify the top 5 most in need and also at the axis of like most suitable planting area, and then that would become a CIP. I feel like a third angle too is, hey, we have all of these public works or roadway projects, transportation projects, park projects, and a priority woven into them. A dedicated percentage of the budget would be tree related, if that was overlappingly identified in here as a need, which also could sort of be this like higher level council priority, Okay, that was super helpful to just sort of set the stage. So, gosh, where do I start? I kind of agree on the map view needs for a couple of reasons. I don't know of anyone that thinks about the city in census tracts. So this whole time you've been talking, I've had your map from the presentation in tandem with a zoning map, a regular map, the map of the opportunity zones from the pedestrian master plan. Just having a version of this labeled with like some main corridors, I think that would be super helpful. Possibly the best one could be the suitable versus unsuitable, or I guess when David was talking, even like a heat map, right? So when I look at the census tract of, let's just talk about no one's gonna know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna it's called 636.05 and 636.04. So that's west side south of 19th. Super familiar with this neighborhood, lived in this neighborhood, my park is in this neighborhood, my business is in this neighborhood. So I understand it's mostly commercial, industrial, but you also have Placentia running all the way through that street. This is identified as an opportunity zone in the pedestrian master plan. Like, I guess once I actually looked at it in the zoning map, it made sense. Oh, why it's on the lower end. It's mostly high density and warehousing. And if you drive down Placentia all the time, we just planted trees, which is amazing. And so it kind of gets you thinking about where we could be doing that more. And so my concern is that when normal people get their hands on this assessment, or just council and future bodies, we're gonna need a little bit more references of like, what am I actually looking at? What neighborhood am I looking at? Or like, Then I'm looking at 636.05 and 637.02, which I think is where Kelly lives, and I'm wondering where Harbor runs through those two, because that was also identified as a pedestrian opportunity zone. And those are both low in canopy coverage. So how does this work with WCA? Do you think you're able to ask for some better maps down the road, maybe even like a digitally interactive tool for residents to click into, possibly?
So I think that's something that we can definitely look at. We did have the assessment boundary, that map that I showed with the assessment boundaries that just showed the green that's there. I think we can definitely play around with that. I think the more colors and things you put in there, it might get to be a little less discernible with the more that's there, but we can definitely look at things we can overlay. I agree with regards to census tracts, just trying to come up with ways to kind of take a little bite of information out of a larger context and how to break that up and kind of make it more bite-sized, rather than looking at the whole thing and going, oh my goodness.
It's definitely better than council districts, for sure. And yeah, I'm looking at so what you're talking about, the tree canopy in green, right? It's the dark green, and then the unsuitable gray, and then the neon green is like our 5% opportunity, right? So even this map, and if anybody's following, I'm on page 10. If I could just get some major roadways. And once again, I'm just gonna circle back. I wish I could have maybe pre-shared it ahead of this meeting so that everyone could have had it, but I pulled up the pedestrian master plan. It's on the city's website, page 24, has pedestrian opportunity zones. I don't even want to recall how much money we spent on that master plan, but I know it was extremely thorough, and those are the zones that I want to focus on, in addition to the lower density residential and the medical. Like, those are awesome. But it's almost like those are going to require a lot more of like a tedious outbound relationship building process, whereas the major like roads and corridors we own, and I think we can do whatever we want. I'm kidding. I know we can't do whatever we want, but I could see it being more of like a sweeping CIP. Like, as we're making this entire corridor more pedestrian friendly, we're also adding trees. And we now have the data to back up that it's worth it. With mulch, as he just reminded me. So yeah, I really wouldn't want this information to fall on deaf ears, and no one else is as crazy and obsessed with me to look up all these different maps to really figure it out, because even when I look at those low canopy south of West 19th, West Side neighborhoods, then I start zooming in on all the R1 neighborhoods, and I'm like, we should go knock on their doors. Like, let's go tell them about our program, you know. And then I'm like, all right, that's not scalable, but it's so good to have that zoning information now that I know, oh wow, so lower density residential seems like has a low barrier to entry, and the tree can thrive there. So like, whatever, let's focus on that. Okay, so mapping I would definitely recommend. I would love eventually for this to go to Planning Commission, because I would really want them to be educated on these findings as it relates to future projects, like our Planning Commissioner said in his public comments. As you can see and hear, I'm already brainstorming like ways that we can better do outbound to these targeted neighborhoods, and specifically multi-unit, high-density residential landlords. I could share at least that having trees on your property increases your property value. So that's right there, an incentive. I love the idea of a policy and collaborating with water districts and all that, but I'm definitely trying to think of like low barrier to entry. Like I'm thinking when I'm going to be canvassing, because I'm going to be running for office in a year from now, I'll have like a little info sheet on like, hey, did you know you can have a tree planted in front of your house for free? Okay, awesome. I am just scrolling through one last time. Other than the mapping improvements, I think the biggest emphasis I just want to put on is I would really like to see this through the lens of the major corridors in the city. Like when I look at a census tract, my mind, especially actually the one that I live in, so 633.01. That's Lower East Side. You've got 17th running through it. It's mostly multi-units, businesses. It's the best neighborhood to live in. And my mind goes to like, oh, I wish I could zoom in, see an actual heat map of where the lacking truly is. Is it because Newport Boulevard has no trees, or like the intersection where you're turning onto 17th? Is it just the single family homes that are attributing the trees in this neighborhood? Yeah, just to be able to have a little bit more detail. And then I'm gonna read out loud to you guys what we identified as the pedestrian opportunity zones, so you have it in your mind. So East Side 17th, Newport Boulevard running from 17th up to 22nd, West Side, West 19th from Newport all the way to the end of the city, Harbor from Newport all the way up to Wilson, and then a break, probably not as many pedestrians in between that, and then Harbor starting, see, this one needs more labels too, from Geisler all the way down to, I don't know what that street is, just right before Fair, portions of Adams, portions of Baker, Merrimack, thank you. You've got like the lab area and Baker and Anton. So that's where we know, of course, there's going to be, it's almost like, no duh, there's also going to be high density, but that's where people are walking and taking the bus and riding their bikes, and also where the traffic needs to slow down. So I really believe that learning more information about planting more trees at these corridors, it's two birds with one stone. And so yeah, if we ever get infinite budget, I would love to see that as well. But yeah, I guess to all of you, like to the fullest extent that we can, I would love to support making some like suggestions and priorities to council. Like, what is the next step for you? Are you going to be presenting this to council as well?
I believe so, yes.
All right, so then I think we should make formal suggestions to add on. So
I don't want to interrupt.
yeah, I know. I'm like, should I pause and you
what
finish
I'm
and
thinking
then
is maybe we do this. I have a few questions and comments, and then I think we go back down the row. I've been taking notes in terms of all of these suggestions, so I would like to go through those so that we get those back out there in the public sphere. And then Vice Chair Wright, I think we can begin to address that in terms of concrete recommendations that we would like to propose accompany your report, your presentation to council, something like that.
that sounds great. I'm gonna start writing some down right now.
Okay, are you
Thank
done?
you.
Are you done
I'm-
for the
I'm
moment with
good.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay. I have just a few questions and a few comments. One question is, I'm really interested in the data on health outcomes as you're thinking about public health and as it was in this document. And so one question I have is so I think it's really important as the PACS Commission that we're thinking citywide in terms of public health outcomes, their relationship with trees and the canopy. I'm curious, what does the data say in terms of health outcomes for individual neighborhoods and tree canopy? So I guess to put that question a little differently is, are the health outcomes roughly similar, taking out all of the variables for somebody in, let's say, my district, District 5 versus District 1, when you look at that tree canopy? So am I reaping the benefits, for example, of the health outcomes of having more tree canopy in a city? Or does it actually vary according to the particular neighborhood you live in, the particular neighborhood you work in? Does that question make sense?
So are you asking if someone that maybe lives in District 5 would benefit from trees planted in District 1? Is that kind of am I breaking it down?
Are the health benefits comparable for residents in a district like mine where we have a poverty of trees as the health outcomes in District 1? If we buy this, which I do, that there are positive health outcomes for people living with a variety of, with a stronger tree density.
So obviously that gets way out of the scope of what we're talking about today, and I don't have any data to support that. Only generalizations that planted trees contribute to health benefits. Typically, those would be in your neighborhood where you spend time. If you go to parks. So I would imagine that there may be a decrease, obviously, in areas that are tree poor, for lack of a better word, or canopy poor. And those are things that we would want to address. But I don't have any hard data as far as health outcomes to support that. But generally speaking, that would align with thought.
That's my reading of what I've read too.
Yeah.
And so that's just something for us to consider, which is really important to think about health outcomes citywide. But as we're making decisions or making recommendations, there are clear divisions in terms of who may be reaping stronger health outcomes than others. That strikes me as important. I was just very sad to see how public schools ranked in terms of the tree canopy. Kind of pained, actually. So a very particular question, as my daughter goes to Mesa, I saw that Estancia was mentioned here as a specific target, could include a public school like Estancia. What is the tree cover like for Mesa? Mesa High, Costa Mesa Junior High. How does it, what does it look like for Mesa?
For Costa Mesa High School?
Yeah. Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot, but I am.
A little bit. I'm trying to picture.
Okay.
I'm not on the campus, in the middle of the campus, but I would imagine it's not significant.
Yeah.
Given the amount of blacktop, sports fields,
Yeah.
tennis, all the other activities.
Do you want to put on your mic?
So they are going to have more than Estancia because they recently rebuilt their, recently being quite a while ago, but rebuilt the middle school side because it used to be combined. It was just one school and they separated it. So they did plant a lot of trees there. And then same when they redid their theater, they added some trees then. So.
Thank you. A call or a request to actually just put Mesa on the radar here in terms of what that school looks like. It's our one of two high schools, and in light of how public schools rank, private schools are doing well, shockingly, in terms of their tree canopy, but our public schools aren't. So this is just, Mesa is a place where you can capture a lot of individuals. So I just wanted to put that out there. I am just going to point out that we have a lot of equity issues at play in this report. I really appreciate all the work, Rob, that you put into this and that your team did. And it really is bringing to light how many equity issues we have in the city. And that as we are thinking about what spaces can be planted and which spaces can't, I think it's an encouragement. I'm Commissioner Dorn Parker, that's how I interpreted your words too, for us to think creatively about how we can intervene as appropriate in making sure that our districts are in better alignment with one another. It's just, you go to those neighborhoods that are low density, that have more trees and better health outcomes, and there's also more place to plant more trees, and their property values go up, and that's great for them, and their health outcomes go up. That's great for them. I would warn us, though, to make sure that we look even more carefully at those areas that desperately need those trees and prioritize that. And it requires more. It requires more investment, and it requires more time. I think the payoff will be higher precisely because it is high density, right? So I think for us to consider adopting some sort of philosophy that grapples with that. You know, I am, as the representative of District 5, we are the second largest area, the second largest district in the city, and we have the worst tree coverage. Again, I'm just like really, that's very disappointing. Can you help me understand how impactful is it that we have Fairview Park as part of our land coverage? Right, so I'm just, as I'm reading that data, I'm depressed. That bums me out. But like, if it would help me to understand how to situate the impact of Fairview Park's size on that number.
I'm trying to formulate your question in my head. As
So
far
so like Fairview Park is huge,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's a huge park. It's a huge part of District 5.
Right.
If one removed, to put my question differently, if one removed Fairview Park from District 5 and then analyzed the tree cover, what would it look like? I'm just trying to understand the impact of Fairview Park and its contours on this data.
Yeah, I think that would have a pretty significant impact, although I believe that some of Fairview Park was removed just because it was a naturalized area. And so I don't know that that was counted as far as, I have to go back and look at the data as far as suitable or unsuitable with regards to specifically the Fairview Park. They did recognize that as a spot where they wouldn't recommend necessarily planting more trees. So you want that kind of taken out of that equation. I get kind of what you're getting at. I don't have the hard data. It's a few hundred acres, obviously, that would change the percentages if they're not properly accounted for.
Right. Director Seth Rahman.
So, Madam Chair, I just want to point out, I think Fairview Park, quite a bit of Fairview Park, actually doesn't have trees in them.
Right.
You know, so the existing, I mean, if you look at the percentage-wise, it may well represent the 12 or 13% that you see in District 5. You know, you got ponds within Fairview Park, all the different lakes that you have, and also some of the areas have fill material that, you know, at this point, we have only some areas that are planted really with trees. And we are trying to plant more in some areas. I think there is a project that Kerry Dalton is pursuing to address some of the areas, some acres. But again, we're talking about a very small portion. 10 acres or something is what's being done right now.
And just to restate what I'm asking, though it sounds like there's not an easy answer. If Fairview Park was not a part of District 5, I just was wondering what the statistics would look like in terms of tree canopy in my district. That's what I'm trying to get to understand how up in arms I should be for my district residents. Do you know what I mean? Where, you know, where it's like, well, Fairview Park is enormous. It's not like some little pocket park where, you know, it's like you don't need, it's enormous and it can't be planted for a variety of reasons. So that's what I'm just trying to understand the implications of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, which is considering the size of the Fairview Park, I think it falls within the same percentage-wise, I think. We can measure it, but I think it falls within the same 10 to 15% of it being tree canopy. Majority of it is actually pretty open and barren right now.
Okay.
So it might be very similar in terms of percentage coverage.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, I'm almost done. We'll open it back up. I just love the idea of thinking about the public comment from Eric around urban forest bathing. I'm really, really interested in that for Costa Mesa. I think that's just something for us to consider. I also think that a map is something for us to discuss and maybe spend a little bit of time here thinking about what would actually be useful in that way. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run down the list of what I heard everybody say and then open it back up to you all. But I've heard, Mr. Ryan, in case this is useful, I'm just going to really quickly go back through it, but an interest in collaboration with the school district, but thinking about school playground or school space, and Chair Brown is really interested in Mesa. Collaboration with the water district, ditching half of a golf course.
1/4 of the golf course.
I mean, I heard 18 down to 9.
No,
holes.
18 would still stay, and then you take an 18, then we have 2 golf courses actually there.
Oh, I misunderstood
that's
what you
okay.
said.
1/4. I'm going to be berated
Okay.
for 1/4.
Repurposing-
1/2, I won't live. Just see, I
Repurposing a
forget.
quarter of a golf course. I am so sorry. The importance of mulching. Dedicating a portion of all projects to trees, so thinking about that for CIP and other projects. MAP and the relationship between the MAP and the pedestrian master plan. Outbound, I think you mean outreach in some way, right, to targeted residents, especially around high-density housing. And I just have to say that again, especially around high-density housing, especially as it relates to equity. Did I say something that I need to repeat? I'm gonna open it up to others, Commissioner Ledger, and then Vice Chair Wright, and then open it up. Okay, Commissioner Ledger.
So one thing nobody's brought up yet is budgeting, and there is always people in the city who thinks that for some reason the city council should not be spending any money on anything. Let the city decay. So we could do something with local businesses where we adopt a tree, like for 2 years they have that tree, like you see people that adopt a highway, and that pays for the tree and the mulching. And so that could be added to the budget. As for the health benefits, when you look into that, I'm going to suggest looking into any studies that China and New York City has done. I know that sounds crazy, but in China's really dense populated areas where they get the really bad smog, they've built these like rooftop parks to help fight that. So they may have the health benefits on that. Along those lines too, I could tell you that 100% will help prevent accidents, car accidents. Ever since they expanded Adams, which I really appreciate the safety aspect of that, but they took down the trees that block the sun at certain times of day, and cars were literally designed for men, and the visors don't work for most women, so we're driving with the sun in our eyes at certain times of day. So yeah, trees and center dividers prevent car accidents. Also, there is on College where the brewery and the laundromat are off of Baker. There used to be the biggest, most healthy, beautiful ficuses lining that street. And when the brewery moved in and had to expand the parking lot, those got torn out. And there is no trees there now. And there are so many kids that are complaining about their walk home from school now on hot days because there's no shade. So I would love to look into where trees have been removed for projects like that and why they haven't been replaced. And I don't know, are ficuses native? Are they good for California? Because I absolutely love them. That's all.
That reminded me of one other thing I forgot to repeat, which is would love to see this go to planning, the Planning Commission.
I also want to know why you're sitting over there. I'm not used to looking this way.
Apparently, the computer at that end is not functioning. I'm not used to sitting in this end. It's really thrown me off as well. I appreciate that.
You're doing great. Vice Chair Wright.
Okay, so just a small thought, since we're talking a lot about schools and Mesa Water, something fun that I learned about and got to participate in since I'm now on the sanitary board is we do a quarterly liaison meeting where all 4 of the Costa Mesa elected bodies get together. So Newport Mesa, Mesa Water, the city, and the sanitary district. This could be, once it's passed through council and has a little bit more direction, I think this would be a great thing just to get it on everyone's minds and start brainstorming what would be the best way to collaborate and work towards some type of like mutually agreed upon goal, even if it's just schools. Just start there, or the safe routes to schools plan. Let's focus on those, you know. I guess I just feel like sometimes we have so much good momentum going on in government, and either normal people don't know about it or even other government bodies don't know about it. And let's sort of use that momentum together. Okay, so as Chair Brown was talking about equity, I felt like I wanted to note something that's going to be important for us to highlight and recommend, which is we're at the axiom of some areas that have a lower density of canopy also have lower unsuitable planting opportunity. And then what we see in the report is that they're trying to find this middle ground of like, well, this mid-tier census tract has mid-tier canopy coverage, but it also has mid-tier suitable planting opportunity zones. And inherently, my concern is that that reinforces the equity disparity. And so I want it to be noted that I am saying I want to target the areas that have lower unsuitable planting zones with the request or the emphasis that it's going to require more creativity, more budget to make it happen. But I think it should be a higher priority. And I'll just give you guys an example is census tract 638.02 is dark green at 18 to 50%. I'm assuming it's being recommended because it also has high planting opportunity zones. I don't think we should prioritize that census tract. Another one, 626, which now I'm trying to find it. 626.01 though is low. Well, it's all the way up there. It's low, but it's not identified as a pedestrian opportunity zone. And so I feel like there's a lot of ways that we can sort of overlap our predetermined goals and things, the census tracts that are in alignment with that, in my opinion, and our values we've stated are, you can see along Newport Boulevard on the left side, we've got let's start from the top, 639.06, 637.02, 635.05.04, and 633.01. Like explicitly, I want to say that I think those should be focused on, but with the layer of like, it's going to take a creative strategy, it's going to take budget, and that's okay.
One second. Mr. Ryan, did you want to respond to something Vice Chair Wright
What do you think about that?
mentioned?
Just to be clear, this report is not meant to prioritize anything. This is just raw data and where they see what the suitability is versus, it's just raw data. It's up to us to really prioritize. One of the main focuses when we started this endeavor was looking at that equity and focusing on where we are lacking overall and how do we do that, whether it's through tree planting or through tree protection, enhanced maintenance practices, focusing on those areas where the canopy is lacking. So if it shows lacking and it's not a suitable, it's a lot of unsuitable areas, then how do we bridge that gap in that particular area? So again, this is not
Totally.
making any recommendations. It's just raw data based on what they see.
Well, I feel like that shows the value of our commission is like, we know these neighborhoods like the back of our hands. I swear I've lived in every single one of these, renting all over the city. And actually he brings up a good point. I would like it to be a line item that we support a maintenance plan and a budget of maintaining and supporting the existing canopy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Jordan Parker?
Yeah, two things. I have a doctoral study on the health benefits of green space and planting. Is it related to community college, the same thing? Then there was a study that I'm on a board for a school for foster youth, and they did a study on the differential, because they're on a main boulevard, by planting trees, the direct health benefit of everybody inside that school and around the corner. So I'll get that to the chair, because it's very specific. The other part is, as we've been talking about, what's been left off is in a lot of these areas deemed unsuitables because it's privately owned property. One of the items that you brought up was that there was trees were in a private parking lot. In a private space, they needed parking as per planning commission. They took out the trees and there was no definition to replace the trees, and its impact on walkability and bikeability is enormous. So I really think part of this needs to be a program where we collaborate with private owners and come up with, similar to like the water districts did, which was to pay them to plant trees. And then that also can really help, and also to define which trees to plant, knowing that we're going to need to also work with the water district. So it's an overlay, but it was brilliant because they paid private businesses and they also themselves to take out all that water sucking lawns and green space. Unfortunately, they didn't plant trees at that time because they were just desperate to stop watering everything. But I think that needs to be part of it, is to come up with some collaboration where you give benefit to the private owner to plant trees. Because that's, if you take 80% as unplantable, that's 80% that really needs to reimagine, which is creativity. But we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's been done by government agencies for a very long time. So I would just make sure that. And I'll get you chair those studies.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Yeah, thank you for that. I wanted to ask, how can we reclassify the percentage of the impervious land? And just talking about District 4, like how can we make it suitable to plant trees?
I'm going to guess that most of that's roadway, infrastructure, buildings, private property that would most likely not be able to be necessarily reclassified. Doesn't mean that you can't add things to those roadways. I mentioned the Placentia Avenue project, where we added a number of trees throughout that, and I think that's been the mindset moving forward with the transportation team, of looking how we add those into those right-of-ways. But most of that, and I'm making an assumption here, most of that unsuitable is going to be roadways and buildings, parking lots, and private property industry.
Okay. And then this map, does it only look at, what trees is that looking at? Is it only trees or is it also shrubbery?
It did look at vegetated areas, but it's counting canopy as trees. So the only thing that registers as an existing canopy would be trees, not necessarily vegetation, low shrubs, grass, and things of that nature.
And that's private and public?
Correct.
Okay. So the reason why I wanted to see if we can suggest putting a map is so that we can go in detail and see all these areas, these pockets in our city that are being forgotten, that the underserved communities, areas where there's multiple families in one apartment. This is off topic, but it really comes down to, like, we're being under attack. Like, our people are being under attack. My neighbor got caught in ice, from ice a few weeks ago. He passed away 6 days after. And so that kind of comes to show that there's fear, there's a lot going on. And so I I put myself in front and say, let's start a pilot. Let's start in a district or in an area that needs that canopy coverage and see how that works and improve from that and be able to duplicate that in other areas. I have the privilege to serve on the committee for the International Society of Arboriculture. On part of our board is the supervisor for CAL FIRE for South California. He's been telling me about all these other grants that we should be applying for, and I'm not sure why we're not doing it, but it's not too late. And so he is willing to help us walk us through before they come out to the public. So I think it's resources that are existing, and just creating that pilot. I don't want to get too carried away. I had so many other questions, but I feel like everybody's asking great questions that I think I'll leave it at that. But I do recommend that we start somewhere, see where that goes, whether it's districts. I'm all for it and just here to serve. So however I can help, just let me know. Yeah.
Mr. Ryan, do you feel like you're good? You want some more comments, feedback?
That is up to you all. I'll make one comment about the mulch. We do put mulch in new planting areas and new project areas. That comes with every project. The difficulty we have is the existing areas. And mulch is great when it stays in place.
Yeah.
But when it blows out, it's not going to do anybody any good. But when we do new plantings and new projects, mulch is always a part of those projects. I just want to clarify that part as kind of amend my response.
Thank you. This was a great conversation. Oh.
Could I add to that?
Yeah.
I challenge everybody to look at the trees, see how much mulch. If you go to District 4, I did recommend what was it? It was Love Costa Mesa Day. We got 19 trees donated by the city, and they're 95% success rates, because we have community forestry. We have parents watering those trees, taking care of those trees, removing the weeds from the base so that weed whackers don't girdle and kill them. I suggested we put mulch. None of them have mulch. All of on Victoria Street, no mulch. So I think it might be percentage, like some places do have mulch, but not on the west side. At least not from my experience from visually seeing them, and it's not enough. And I think that's something that we need to challenge ourselves to see these things and report to the city like, hey, maybe this place can be suitable for mulch, and just kind of speak up and just have an eye for those things. Yeah, so thank you for the donation, and we're doing the best with those trees. We did plant 40 fruit trees as well on private property, and they're doing really well. And so if anybody wants to duplicate that in other places, just walk Shalimar. Yep. You'll see all these beautiful, I mean, we have everything you can think of in terms of fruit trees that grow here. There's a banana tree that has a stem this big that is ready to be harvested.
That's great.
Yeah, so yeah, go check it out. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Are there any other commissioner comments for anything else on the agenda? Moving on from this, we would love our recommendations to go with the report to City Council, and I'm happy to help with that. I think Vice Chair, I'm going to yeah, we're happy to support that. If there aren't any other commissioner comments, any staff comments, then I adjourn this meeting at 8:13 p.m. Thank you all.